Welcome, Lumineers and fans of the happiest card game on earth. My name is John T. You've just been put in the inkwell alongside a pile of new cards, including a good chunk of locations. I'm incredibly grateful for a good microphone because there is a lot of construction work going on in my building today, but luckily I don't think it's picking too much of it up, but if you do hear the odd clunk and clank in the background, that's what it is. First up, we have a 2-costed location in steel, Mary's Place of Exile, Hidden Island. It has a move cost of 1 and a willpower of 5, and the ability Isolated. Characters here gain resist 1. This is a rare card with art by Jeremy Adams. And as you'll probably get bored of me saying in this video, I'm really not sure how to rank these locations yet. I just can't tell whether they're going to be unplayable or completely change the game. Till I actually get some in front of me and start putting them on the table, I don't think I'm really truly going to know. Because at the minute, whilst the abilities seem interesting on some of them, I just feel like Maui just kills them all. And I really feel like we need to see a fuller picture of what characters care about them and how they really work within decks. Because at the moment, I just feel like a lot of them are a bit of a tempo loss for not necessarily that much gain. But there's probably a Sapphire Steel resist based deck with things like Cogsworth and Tiana and Cinderella, Stout-Hearted that, may well find a place for this. Next up, we have a 2-costed 2/2 for 1 lore in Sapphire, Huey Savvy Nephew. He's a Storyborn ally with support and the ability 3 Nephews. Whenever this character quests, if you have characters named Dewey and Louie in play, you may draw 3 cards. A rare card with art with Federico. I'm afraid I can't really make out the last name. We haven't really got a high res version of these ones yet, unfortunately. The Huey here is a set of 3, really. We also have a 3-costed 2/3 for 2 with support in Dewey, Showy Nephew, and then a 4-costed 3/4 with 2 lore with support in Louis Chill Nephew. I think it's fair to talk about these 3 as a package because whilst they aren't incredibly terribly statted, I think they really do want to be working together. Unfortunately, the curve is a little off here. It would be really nice to see Huey with the questing ability there in the middle of the 3, so you could play a 2-drop, a 3-drop, a 4-drop, and then quest with the 3-drop, instantly getting yourself the 3 cards. But honestly, these are quite a few hoops to jump through for some card draw, especially in the colour that is doing it so well already with something like Haram Flaversham and an item or 2. But it's nice to see a thematic set of characters. They work relatively well with the Scrooge McDuck Who Wants to Challenge that we looked at last video, and obviously card draw is pretty impressive. Might make a fun themed deck, but otherwise I'm not too sure these will see much play. Next up, one of the more interesting locations in my opinion, a 4-costed inkable location in Emerald, Fang River City. Move cost of 2, willpower of 6, and 2 lore with the ability Surrounded by Water. Characters gain ward and evasive while here. This is a rare card with art by Michael Gumont. The first thing I thought of when I saw this was it's a great target. The first really great target I think we've seen for Jim Hawkins. Playing him on 5, having this come down for free, having him move to it, instantly gaining ward, and then next turn gaining 2 lore and being able to quest with Jim. With him being evasive, seems like a really solid line personally. But without Jim in your hand, are you really going to want to play this on turn 4 instead of developing the board state with something that's a little bit more interactive in a character? I just don't know, and I don't think I'm going to know until we've really got a fuller picture of how these are going to work in the game. But for now, this is kind of the amount of text and numbers I want to see on a location for me to start getting interested about it. On the opposite end of that spectrum, we did have a couple of vanilla locations as well. A 1-costed inkable location in Amber, Neverland Mermaid Lagoon with a move cost of 1, a willpower of 4, and 1 lore. Common card with art by Cecile Curry, and the same card basically in Emerald, a 1-costed 1 move cost, 4 willpower, 1 lore in DeVille Manor, Cruella's Estate in Emerald, another common card with art by Ryan Moet. As it stands, I don't really see you playing these on turn 1 instead of a 1-drop character. Especially in these colours, Emerald's most likely still going to be wanting to play one of its 1/3s. I still think you're going to get more value out of Amber playing a Lilo. But again, the more we see characters that care about locations, the more relevant these are going to be. Next up, a 2-costed inkable item in Sapphire, Aurelian Gyro Sensor. Has the ability Seeking Knowledge. Whenever one of your characters quests, you may look at the top card of your deck, put it on either the top or the bottom of your deck. This is a rare card with art by Mario Oscar Gabriel. I quite like this one. We recently talked about this on our weekly live stream, This Week in Ink. Myself and Brandon go over all of these cards and lots more news from the week. And he disagreed with me, didn't think it was that good, but I actually think this is pretty strong. It's an inkable item in a color that cares about items a lot, and it's going to let you start looking and digging a little bit when you're drawing off of something like Haran Flabbersham. I think this replaces Ursula's Cauldron in any deck that it can. I'll happily be proved wrong, but I actually think it's pretty good. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of is the fact that this doesn't come from a Disney IP. It is a Lorcana original. I'm not necessarily on board with that just yet, but I guess I'm going to have to get used to it. A couple more locations next then. A 3-costed inkable location in Ruby, Agrabah Marketplace. Has a move cost of 1, willpower of 5, and 2 lore. Pretty solid numbers for a common with art by Katlin Cuthbertson. Really great art on this one as well. But again, at the moment, I don't really see a reason to play this over a 3-costed character. I would rather get a Surfer Mini down on turn 3 than this as it stands. Again, these live or die on the characters that care about them and how playable they end up being. This one that I do actually think is playable and interesting, and I can already see the lines for, is a 2-costed inkable location in Sapphire Motunui Island Paradise. Has a move cost of 1, willpower of 5, and 1 lore, and the ability Reincarnation. Whenever a character is banished whilst here, you may put that card in your inkwell face down and exerted. Uncommon card with art by Etienne Savoy. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Love the stylized art on this one, and you know, this I actually think can see play. This is almost a be prepared proof. If you're playing into Ruby and you've got a few things on the board, I think you could quite comfortably take turn 6 to play this, move everything to it, and then quest away with the be prepared sort of knowingly coming down. It's just going to help you ramp into re-establishing your board after it. Or maybe it puts them off playing the Be Prepared altogether, and instead they run a Maui out into this, and your characters survive another turn. And of course, you could play this in a Sapphire Ruby deck and prepare your own board for the Be Prepared. Obviously, Be Prepared banishing all the characters on the board. So you can take turn 6 to play this, move everything to it, and then next turn Be Prepared and get yourself a nice bit of ramp as well. Yep, I think this is pretty good, and I can definitely see it slotting into a lot of Sapphire decks. And then finally, Half the Presses. This one was showed last night on our live stream, so again, I'll plug it again if you're not already watching. Every Monday night at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern, myself and Brandon from B Squared do a live stream here on the channel where we look over all of the cards and all of the other news as well. And we're very often joined by some Ravensburger folks in the chat. This week, Rochelle popped in and gave us this card on the fly to share. It is a 5-costed uninkable action in Amber, 99 puppies. Whenever one of your characters quests this turn, gain 1 lore. An uncommon card with art by Agnes Christiansen. And this is a really fun card. It's very, very overcosted, as it probably needs to be, because again, this is one of those cards that can just come out of left field and win a game. Anything like this that just gains you lore on the turn it's played is very difficult for your opponent to be prepared for. You very often find yourself in Lorcana doing the math and seeing what they have across from you and working out whether or not they have the win on board. We're already constantly having to add 1 or 2 to those numbers if they're playing Amethyst and there's a possibility of a goat coming down. Now it's going to be a concern in Amber as well. Somebody's sat at 12 lore and they have a Rockstar Stitch and a couple of cheaper bodies on the board. They can technically win playing this the next turn, questing out and gaining an extra 3 lore. And that's definitely going to be something you might have to think about. That's basically the reason why this is a 5-cost and is uninkable, because, you know, if this was easier to play, if this was cheaper, if this was inkable, if this was a song, then it would be pretty broken. It needs to be expensive because this very easily could win the game out of nowhere. I'm not so sure it'll see a ton of competitive play, but I think anybody playing at League, running something like a 7 Dwarfs deck, or like I say, a Stitch Rockstar deck, or something that just wants to put a lot of Amber bodies on the board, I definitely feel like a few copies of this could squeeze in there and help him get to the win con before that Be Prepared hits. I'm going to play around with this card a little bit today and see if I can figure out the math, how quickly you could win adding this card into your deck. Is this a turn 5 win? with some really aggressive questing earlier on. I'm going to look forward to doing some math on that later. Wait. Actually hot off the presses, as in, like, revealed whilst I was recording this video. So I'm just going to stick it on to the end of this one and stay current. This is a forecasted uninkable action song in steel, and then along came Zeus. He hurled his thunderbolt. He zapped like those suckers. I'm sorry, Lorcana villain just possessed me for a moment. This is this is deal 5 damage to chosen character or location. This is pretty spicy. I think it's a rare card with art by Isabella Caravolo. Caravolo. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think this is okay. It's uninkable, but it is a song. You know, this is an Amber Steel song. Who knew? That's a deck, and this probably goes in it. The fact that it's hitting characters or locations is pretty good. This may well see Sebastian start to see a little bit of play. He is one of our singers, but doesn't really see much at the moment because he can sing 4 on a 2-drop, and at the minute there wasn't really any good sort of 4-drop songs. In fact, there might not have been any 4-drop songs thinking about it, but here we go. This one goes in there pretty nicely and deals with any location or character with 5 on the willpower. I think this is pretty good. It's uninkable, but I always think uninkables kind of get a little bit of a free ride if they're also a song. You know, I think this is pretty good. It's great to see the muses there as well. I love them. I hope they all get their own character cards eventually, because they're some of my favorite characters in all of Disney. Yeah, this is pretty good, I think. And there we go, a nice selection of stuff today. I'm still not sure about locations, although Motunui and Fang are definitely closer to where I want them to be power-wise. And remember, do not miss a trick by being subscribed to the channel here, where we cover every single card and everything of note in the world of Lorcana as soon as we can. Thank you so much for watching. Till the next one, be good.